Hey trumpet players, Jim here with trumpet lesson number 3. There's been some fabulous renovations to the facilities here. I found my old poster. That's about it. Borrowed a microphone. We're going to play some tunes today. We're going to get a 5-note scale worked out so that we can use it to play those tunes, and then I might throw a curve or two at you. You really want 2 things before we get started. Number 1 is you might want a way to look at the sheet music that we're going to use. It's on my website. Print it out if you can. If you can't, you're just going to have to use your phone or something like that and just look at those little teeny tiny notes. Get it printed if you can. The other thing is you should be warmed up before you even attempt to play. And if you haven't figured out what warm-ups are about yet, go to my site, go to my channel, find the warm-ups, and find the one that works for you. If you are still at the level of warm-up number 1, some of these tunes might be too hard. If you're doing warm-up number 2, you should be able to play these. So, you got your music, you got yourself warmed up. Let's go. We're going to start with this little 5-note scale exercise. I'll count you in. Let's play it together. Don't forget, 3rd valve slide out for the D. Maybe, what are we calling that these days? We're calling it about 1.5 centimeters. If you're living in the metric world, and if you're living in feet and inches, it's just a little over 1/2 inch. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, 2, 3, and we slur. Good. Now, every now and again you'll see me counting with my trumpet bell as though I was conducting. That's just to help us stay in time with each other. You don't need to do that. In fact, you don't want to do that. All right. You probably heard a difference between the tongued notes in the first 4 bars and the slurred notes in the last 4 bars. We want to be able to do both. We want to be able to tongue clearly with the tip of the tongue at the top of the teeth, and we want to be able to slur as we go upward and downward on the trumpet. Let's look at hot cross buns. 2, 3, 4. Good. And again, 3rd valve slide's got to be out for the D's. To be honest, if there's a whole bunch of D's in a row, well, first of all, if there's a bunch of D's in a row, you don't have to go out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in. Just leave it out. And for this entire exercise, I'd leave it out. Sometimes you have to bring it in, and we'll come to a tune on the 2nd page where that's the case. Do have to be able to move that slide. I'm sure I've done a video on that. I've definitely done a post on that. Next tune, Au clair de la lune, or By the Light of the Moon. These unusual bar lines at the beginning and at the end of bar 4, that's a pair of repeat signs. So we play that 4 bars and then we play it again. 2, 3, 4. Great. And if you can hold that whole note out to the end of the 4th beat, that'd be great. 3 notes, again with the D, again that slide out. I tongued all those notes. If you want to have a little fun with it, slur the notes, or slur some of them and tongue some other ones. The next tune is Mary Had a Little Lamb, but it's without the higher note. And you'll notice that in the 4th bar. In the 4th bar, instead of going up to the G, we just stay on the E. That's to make sure that if you can't get that G, you can still have fun and sound good. Let's play. This is 2 lines long. 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. If you got a little out of air in there, just sneak a breath every now and again and get yourself back in. Try to maintain a steady tempo. If you were listening carefully, you noticed that I sped up in about the 3rd bar because I just got tired of playing it that slowly. Practice it at whatever tempo you like. If you want to play along with me, I guess that's the tempo. Now, we'll do the same song again, but with that note, the higher note, in the 4th bar. It's a G, and this is why you want to be at warm-up number 2 before you tackle this line. So you need that's the G. Here we go. Mary had with the high note. 2, 3. Great. Okay, I hope that G went okay for you. Sometimes when I'm going for a higher note, I'll put a little more air through the instrument. The air has to go a bit faster as you go up the instrument. So, I'm turning the page. Let's see what we got. Oh, okay. The rhythm in this one, it looks complicated. If you haven't seen rhythms like this before with 8th notes in them, don't freak out. You know the song. Not sure if I'm allowed to call it Baby Shark, so let's call it Bobby. About here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. And repeat. Good, way to go. Now this time I left out the repeat sign at the beginning because quite often that's the case. You'll run into a repeat sign somewhere in the first lines of a tune and it'll just take you back to somewhere. That somewhere is always the beginning, if it isn't present. The next song actually has 2 fun, maybe 3 fun things about it. The repeat sign goes back to a repeat sign in bar 2. There is a first ending and there is a second ending. So the first time you play the internal part of that tune, you take the first ending, the repeat sign sends you back to the repeat, and then you skip that first ending when you play it for the second time and you go to the second ending. Now this is, there's a little town just north of here where there is actually an old town road. And the poor little municipality that has that road can't keep the sign on the pole because people keep stealing it. We'll blame Lil Nas X for that. Old Town Road. So this one starts on the second beat. I'll count to 4 plus 1. Oh, I better tell you about this other thing. The E flat is 2 and 3. We're used to playing E by now. This song has E flat in it, not E. So we have to not only put down 1 or 2 and 3, but we also have to get this slide back in. Otherwise that E flat's going to be kind of flat. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. How'd it go? I hope it went well. There's a spot in the first ending, which I forgot about, where it goes from E flat to D, from 2 and 3 to the D 1 and 3 with the slide kicked out. So you have to move the slide while you're playing from E flat is in to D where it's out. If you don't do that, the D is going to be out of tune. If you just leave it out, then the E flat's going to be out of tune. Good work. There's a couple other things in there. There's spots where there's a little arc between a couple of notes. That connects the value of notes that are the same pitch. It's called a tie, and that's what it does. It ties together their value. You know the rhythm of Old Town Road, so you're not going to have any trouble playing it right. You might as well get used to what it looks like on the page. All right. So I have a friend named Candace who's a trumpet player down in Vancouver. And she's got a really fun project in mind. I hope it gets online pretty soon, but she wants trumpet players to learn playing great music, not pop tunes that the kind of stuff I like. Let's play some Dvorak. This is a little teeny scrap from the new World Symphony. Everybody knows this. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Way to go! You've just played your first piece of symphonic music. I guess no collection of 5-note tunes is complete without Ode to Joy. Beethoven gets all the credit for the popularity of this tune. He actually borrowed it from another guy, but that's a whole other story. This has a repeated section that goes back to the beginning, a first ending, and a second ending. From the second ending, you just play, 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 play. At the end of the second line, I've given you an option of going, or, for super fun, if you can play that low G, it's more fun. If you can't, if it just doesn't want to come out, or if it's a real barf bag of a note, just play the upper one. It's fine too. If you do play that low G, you can leave that third valve slide out somewhat. I would bring it in at least half the distance that you had it out, but you figure out what works for you. Depending on which mouthpiece I'm using, it's in different places. Here we go. Ode to Joy. 1, 2, 3. All right, I hope that went super well, because that's a classic. In the middle, remember at the end of the fourth line, or you decide what sounds best. There's a couple things I want you to think about. All of these notes that we're looking at have names. Most of what we played today were C, D, E, F, G. At one point in Old Town Road, there was a C, D, E flat, but it's still some kind of an E. Learn those names. Don't just start to figure things out without learning them. Learn them. You've only got 5 to worry about right now, so learn them. Note names and fingerings. Get so that when you look at the page, you know what they are. And one more thought. The tunes that I've given you on lesson 3 are these tunes in these keys. It is possible to play any one of these tunes in any of 12 keys. So for instance, it's possible that in your band class, you've got 3 Blind Mice and it's in this key. And I've got you playing, and so on. You could play it in this key. Or you can play that song and every other song in 12 different places. These are the ones that I thought would be easy for you to deal with today. I'll make it harder in the future. I'll give you some nasty keys to play in, full of things like that E flat to D. That's coming. For right now, play in these keys, find these notes, get so that you always know where you are on your instrument. Listen to yourself play. I didn't figure that out until halfway through grade 10. Anyway, what was I doing when you came in? Oh yeah, I was playing scales.